I'm going to give you a very brief introduction into what CLiKAPAD voting is. So we're not going to look today at the advanced functionality. We're going to look at a very common use case, which is using voting to run a quiz or perhaps ask questions within a training session. So I'm just going to look first at the voting devices and the receiver. So what you can see here is on the left hand side, the device that would be given to each of the attendees to your conference, training session, meeting, and you can see there how simple it is for them to cast a vote. So they're going to be shown multiple choice questions, and all that they've got to do is press the button of the number that corresponds with the option that they want to choose. So for example, if we ask them whether they're happy to be here, and the answers are 1 for yes and 2 for no. If I'm happy to be here, I simply press a 1 on my device. Easy as that, and that will light up in the little LED window that you can see just above button 3, so it will show them the number that they pressed. On the right is the receiver. That's connected to the laptop via USB, and it simply listens for those votes coming in from the keypads, and the votes are transmitted via RF. So you don't need line of sight. The voters don't need to be pointing at that little box. It will travel through bodies and through the air in general. So even if you are sat behind your audience with the laptop that's connected up to the main screen, that will still work fine, even though most likely they will be pointing forwards. So that's the hardware element, but the second thing that's important is the software, and I'm just going to escape out of my PowerPoint for a moment just to show you what that looks like. So once you've got the software installed, normally you're going to land on this screen, probably on Home. You simply go to this new menu that you'll have once you've installed, which is called add-ins, and I've actually got two different add-ins. The add-in that we're looking at today is the main CLiKAPAD add-in. So if I click on that, this is where I'll find my voting controls. So this is where I go to add a new vote, or convert an existing PowerPoint slide to a vote, or edit an existing one. So I'm not going to focus too much on this now, but just so you see how the things join together. You would have a PowerPoint slide that's branded however you like. I've actually got various branding throughout this presentation just to show you that you can use different masters and you can make these look however you want to. We've obviously used our own branding, our own colours, whereas you would have your master with your logo and your colours, or you may not want to apply any branding at all. You might want just plain slides. Because it's all PowerPoint, it can look however you like. The only thing that's coming from the voting software rather than PowerPoint is this graph here. And this is set up in the CLiKAPAD voting software, and you can choose all of these colours individually. So we've set these according to our own branding, but you can change each of those bars to a different colour or have them all as one colour. You can have bar charts like this one. You could have vertical column charts. You can have pie charts. So it's really up to you how you display your data. And if I just scroll a bit, you can see some of the different types of slide that you could be making and different ways that you can lay these out. So lots of options to choose from, and I'm just going to jump back into full screen and we'll run a vote so you can see how this all knits together. When I land on a voting slide, an extra little element that you didn't see in edit mode appears, which is that votes cast box. So what that's telling me is at the moment nobody's cast a vote on this question. If I start pressing buttons on keypads, you'll see those votes coming in. So currently we've had 3 votes, and let me cast another couple. If at this point somebody votes 5 or 6, it will simply ignore that vote because it's incorrect. So once I've got enough votes in, all I need to do is click to advance as though I'm going to the next slide or the next animation, and it will close the vote and immediately show the graph. So what we're doing with this is dividing the keypads up into teams for our quiz. So now that we've got people into their various departments, not only can they play as an individual and try to win this quiz, but they're also playing on behalf of their team. And it doesn't actually matter whether all the teams are the same size. The software will work out the maximum that they could have scored, and it's all based on percentages, so you don't have to worry if you've got more people in one department than another. So moving on to our first quiz question. There's a slight change here. We've set this one up on a countdown timer, so it's not going to tell me how many people have voted. It's going to tell the voters how long that they've got in order to vote. But what you might notice is underneath that play icon, there's now a little blue bar growing. That's because the votes are being captured even though I haven't started the timer. This is all user defined preference stuff. I've set it up so that as soon as the vote's on screen, people can start voting immediately. So all I'm giving them really is the last 10 seconds within to vote, which I'm going to start that now. So again, that's just a click on your presenter clicker or on your keyboard, however you normally move from slide to slide, you can use in this as well. So I'm just going to click my spacebar, and you'll see they've now got 10 seconds left within which to cast their vote, and the little blue bar is growing a bit further. If it got all the way to the right, that would show me that 100% of the audience have voted. So we can either wait to get to the point that everybody's voted, or we can close this off when the time runs out, or we can set it so it closes automatically when the time runs out. So I'm going to click now, and again the vote closes, and we can see straight away how they voted. And on my next click, I've got a little animation there just to show you which one's the correct answer. So we'll run another vote now. And I'm going to close that one a bit early. So our votes are in. 40% think it's New York. On my next click, the highlight appears and they've done really well there. It is New York. We don't have to stick to that same method of layout. It doesn't have to be text boxes. It could be anything you like. If you're good at PowerPoint, go wild with your design. You can do anything that you want to do. So you can see we've got quite a different style going on this one. And at the end of the vote, instead of a graph, because we don't have space for one, we've set it up with just labels. So 50% of the audience voted for option 2, frogs. And my next click reveals that that's correct. So you can use PowerPoint animations. The only time that you can't have an animation running is while the vote itself is running. So your animation at that point is the vote counter. Once you've asked all your questions, you can immediately show winners. This winners slide is referring to that very first question that we voted on of which team are you in. So that's telling us that the operations team got 66.7% right in that quiz and are winners. You could set this up in advance with your teams by keypad number, and that would work exactly the same way. And obviously you can name the teams as appropriate. Everything on these slides can be done in different languages, of course, because we're working in PowerPoint. So all you're seeing there is a PowerPoint slide and the team names that we set up. In addition to having these scores calculated by team, we can also have a winning individual. So we can use one or the other or both, it doesn't matter. If you've told the software the names of your participants, it will bring a name up here. I haven't, so mine's just come up with the winner being keypad 6. On the back of the keypads, there's a little number sticker that tells you which keypad is yours. So when this slide comes up, they only have to look at the back of the device to see whether or not they're the winner. We could show third, second and first if we wanted to. I've gone straight for just the winning keypad. In the event of a tie, that would take into account the speed of response. So if two people got 100% of the questions right, the one that answered them fastest would be the winner. So I'm just going to escape out again and show you how things look after you've voted. So what we can see is that the voting results are now on the slides. If I needed to email this to a colleague or a client to show them how the voting went, they don't need voting software. This is just going to appear as an image on the PowerPoint slide for them. So very easy to share. The other thing that you can do, of course, is export all of that data out to Excel. So if you need to do some data analysis afterwards, you can do that very easily within Excel, because you will get not only the overall result, so telling you that 40% said it was New York, you'd also know how many there is by number of votes. So if you don't get all of the votes on every question, that's something else you can look at. And finally, what you'll get is your full audit trail of how every keypad voted for every single question. So you'll know that for question one, keypad one voted two, and for question two, they voted four, and so forth. You'll get all of that data as well. So this is by no means exhaustive. We can do quite a lot more with the voting system than what I've shown you here, but hopefully a good introduction to how the software works and how that interlinks with your PowerPoint presentations.